fatal heart impacts, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and pass. I back up my actions, fact don't ask, grab reactions, jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose. Pick a new silver excuse, I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're discreet out. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirusho here. And now. This particular series I know might surprise you guys, especially if it is coming out from my channel. Now, I will briefly state one simple thing. This series already is going to be different. It may share a little bit of similarities with some other what-ifs that you guys have seen of this, but I can assure you it will be different. Like the whole female Todoroki ship thing. Yeah, I noticed that that's a trend on a lot of those videos. It isn't bad, but it just feels like there could be more to the story if you do expand it a little bit more, which I'm going to be trying to do. Now, I'm going to give a shout out to all the people who have done this concept already, because a lot of them have actually inspired me along with a friend of mine. So if you guys do want to go over and support them, just look up in your guys' search bar, what if Deku had a Quirk marriage? I actually did go through a lot of the part 1s I could find to make sure I did not copy anyone, since there actually is not too many of these things around right now. Anyways, now then, with that being said, let the what if begin. We will start with Izuku Midoriya being born, and his abilities. Now, Midoriya will be the son of two pro heroes. His mother, the telekinesis hero, and his father, a hero who is remotely lesser well known, but is closely working with the police. In fact, you could consider him to basically be a cop. He is officially licensed and trained by the Hero Association, along with always going on patrol in costume, not in a police uniform. However, he does sometimes carry a firearm, for his own protection of course. Even though with his power he can scramble your brains. Yeah, very deadly. He is mainly a pro hero who does deal with the more serious side of the law, like Fat Gum. He will be brought in to interrogate certain people, and if they are given reasonable suspicion, Hisashi is able to get a warrant to invade the mind. Now, it is a complicated process, but if they deem it urgent, in order to prove if someone is guilty or innocent, or had reasonable suspicion, then it's somewhat allowed. However, it takes weeks and a lot of complicated hoops to jump through. You basically have to be absolutely 95% certain this man committed the crime. Even if you were to catch him with blood in his hands and prints on the knife, you would have to go through those hoops, since you don't know what happened. If Hisashi can see the incident occur, then he can give 100% certainty that they are guilty. Now, sorry, I went into pure focus mode. Anyways, with that being said, that is his parents. And we actually do have Midoriya, whenever he was born. Now, he was born a perfectly normal and healthy baby. And there actually is the occurrence that does happen a few months later whenever he is at home. Hisashi and Inko, they both have a day off. And Inko has been somewhat struggling with taking care of the baby. Right now, Hisashi, he is currently sitting in front of the couch, holding his son and somewhat just playing with him. While Inko, she did fall asleep. Hisashi is letting her nap because of all the stress she herself has been put under. And he's actually been trying to take a bit of time away from his own job in order to stay with her, especially since she's somewhat become a stay-at-home mom temporarily. Now, with that being said, Hasashi is having fun and basically making sure that baby Izuku is, well, smiling and happy. And while he is holding his son, he actually does go to pick up his coffee off the table. Now, he stirs his coffee with a spoon and then actually does pull it out, setting it down on the table and going to drink. Now, the very moment that he does actually pick up his coffee, he does begin to notice something. The liquid in it does actually begin to rise, as he was trying to drink it, almost going up his nose. Now, this actually did catch him off guard. And he actually did go to let go of his cup and somewhat jump up onto the couch, completely caught off guard. Now, the very moment that he did that, he actually did land on Inko's feet, her somewhat jolting awake, confused, to see what is happening. Now, the very moment that she's awakened, she's surprised, going to bring her hand up and trying to stop the cup from falling. However, after a second, she does realize these aren't her powers at play, and it does somewhat click in her head. Now, the moment that it does somewhat click, the coffee cup falls, and the hot coffee does actually land on Hasashi's shirt and part of his pants, while baby Izuku is still reaching out and somewhat laughing. Now, this is quite surprising, and Inko does somewhat believe that these abilities Midoriya does have are hers. Their son has her quirk. Now, it's kind of strange. Or strange, not stranged. Hasashi does think that Inko possibly used her quirk in her sleep again. She's done it before. However, not with a cup of coffee. Usually she would float up in the air and basically somewhat do her own version of sleepwalking, or sleep levitating, inadvertently using her quirk. And he'd have to wake her up, kind of. Basically, get her back down to the bed before he does wake her. Otherwise, she could seriously hurt herself. Now, that is what Hasashi does kind of counted up to be. However, Inko, she does have reasonable suspicion. She didn't feel her quirk active, up until she went to go try and grab the mug. Even then, it was already airborne. So what's going on? Now, this was quite surprising. And then there's the fact that we actually do have Midoriya somewhat crying one day. For some unknown reason, he just began to cry. And it was strange. They couldn't do anything to settle him down. They tried calming him down, taking out for car rides, and putting on cartoons, even a favorite song. Nothing would work. And it was very strange. They eventually had to take him to a doctor. Doctors couldn't find anything physically wrong with him, and he appeared to be perfectly healthy. They conducted a full exam. Even then, the baby was still crying. At this point, it wasn't a matter of what's wrong with him, it's he's going to cry too much. He could physically hurt his vocal cords if he just keeps screaming the way he is. Now, we actually do have one day when Hasashi, he actually is talking with somebody on the phone. He's talking with another pro hero, and he's trying to inform them about what is going on. Them being surprised to hear about his kid having this all happen. And he actually does somewhat bring up an idea. If he doesn't know what's going on, it could be Quirk related. Quirk related? Yeah, you know, Quirk related. It's like, what's the best way of saying it? Whenever I was a baby, my parents told me that because of my acid quirk, I inadvertently melted through my onesie, and my bed, and our ceiling, and my crib. You get the idea. Luckily, we lived on the first floor. But, yeah, it could be a form of, well, activation that he's going through, and he doesn't know how to turn it off. Have you thought of that? Uh, no. But even then, my wife thinks that he has her quirk. And if he's stuck in a form of activation and nothing's floating, then that would mean. Wait, that would mean he has my quirk too. Hmm? Wait, you think your kid has two quirks? That's crazy, right? Well, I mean, kinda. It's not too weird when you think about it. Telekinesis, telepathy. Actually, they're both got things to do with the mind. So, I gotta call you back. I need to go check. Now, this is whenever Hisashi, he hangs up the phone. And he actually does go running into his son's room. Now, Inko is very surprised. However, Hisashi, he just did one thing. While Inko was sitting down in a chair trying to calm him down, Hisashi actually did bend down onto one knee and bring his finger up to the side of baby Izuku, or 2-year-old Izuku's head. And he actually began to look into his mind. The very moment he did, he understood everything about why his son was acting the way he was. He could hear the thoughts of everything going on around him. Everyone in the building they're in. Everyone possibly in the entire block. Hisashi was almost completely overwhelmed by it. And he actually did somewhat just take a step backwards after his finger left his son's head. And Inko was quite confused. Now, Hisashi, he quickly actually did tell Inko what was going on, before picking up Izuku out of her arms, and basically going to sit down in the living room, while Hisashi's trying to focus and hold on to his son. Now, he actually is sitting down in front of the couch, crisscross applesauce with his legs holding onto his son, as he actually does bring up his fingers onto the side of Izuku's head, and he does actually begin to focus. Now, it takes him a minute or so to do so, but he finally turns off Izuku's quirk, or a force quirk deactivation. He was trying to find the best way to do it, so he basically had to trigger the things in Midoriya's mind, the same way he would turn off his own quirk. And Izuku, he finally stopped screaming. Now, this was actually very surprising. And Hisashi, he did have to explain to Inko that these things are happening and these things are happening, so they need to be very careful. If he starts screaming again, he might have to do this again. And in fact, well, I'm going to talk about how they might have to do that thing that he can do. Inko's somewhat concerned. Now, what he would basically do is limit his son's power. He could put a mental lock on his telepathy for right now. Midoriya would be able to freely use his telekinesis. However, since he can't control his mind reading ability at the moment, and he could possibly go haywire with it if it's not properly controlled, he wants to somewhat just turn his mind away from it for a moment, and then bring him back to it later on down the line, possibly whenever he is older. So, once that does actually happen, they should tell him about it. Now, Inko does somewhat agree. However, she does actually have some things she wants to say about it. It is a good idea, yes, and telepathy is a very dangerous quirk. She will agree with him. However, whenever Izuku gets into school is whenever they should actually do it. Hisashi is somewhat disagreeing, and Inko basically telling him, if Izuku doesn't have his abilities, both of them, if he suddenly finds out about one of them one day, or the ability just manifests when he's on the playground, what do you think that would do to their son? He would probably feel crazy. He'd probably feel weird. And it could mess him up somewhat. So, they would come to an agreement. Before Izuku starts school, they will undo this ability. And at least begin to try and teach him to use it. Is that clear? Hasashi somewhat lamenting. And having to agree with his wife. Now, with that being said, we do cut to up to around Midoriya at the age of 4, where we do have everybody in class. Some people raising their hands up and standing to talk about their quirks. As we do have today, the first day, and everybody with a mutation quirk has already introduced themselves. One kid can fly, one kid can shoot fire, one kid can do these things. This kid has eyeballs poking out of his head. And then there's this one. His fingers can literally stick to anything. Sadly, he can't unstick them. So, what is he stuck wearing? Gloves. Now, with that being said, Izuku, he actually has stand up. And everyone is looking at him. He looks normal. Yes. Your name is Izuku Midoriya, correct? Yes, teacher. Okay. You possess a quirk? Yes. Okay, strange. And do you mind filling us in about what that quirk can be? Midoriya is saying that he actually does possess 2 quirks. Someone actually trying to call him out. Bakugo. Talking about how possessing 2 quirks is not possible. The teacher then trying to explain. It's a half and half ability. Bakugo Katsuki should be well aware of this. A half and half ability is where 2 quirks are technically 1, or 1 quirk can technically be split up into 2 quirks. They are very rare, and actually, somewhat powerful. So with Midoriya's quirks, it could make him a very powerful hero. Her then asking Midoriya exactly what are his quirks. To which Midoriya, he actually does look around, and tell everybody to just not freak out. But, him bring his hands up. And you actually do watch as all the papers and pencils do begin to float up into the air, along with everyone's hair and Midoriya's. Now, as Midoriya is doing that, he actually is somewhat trying to lift up the desk, finding them all to be very heavy. Now, he does at least get a few of them a little bit off the ground, and the teachers are quite surprised by this. And then Midoriya does actually begin to speak in his head, or everyone else's, saying that this is the other one too. His dad has been trying to teach him to use this one for a while. The teacher actually letting out an audible gasp, as she falls backwards, her glasses staying in the air. And Midoriya, he actually has let go of his abilities. Everybody watching the pencils, papers, and everything that was up in the air fall and hit the ground, along with a few desks actually thumping back down. Now, somebody does tell Midoriya that he does possess a very powerful quirk, and that he could be a good hero. Before they quickly rush the teacher out and try to figure out what is wrong with her. Now then, with all of that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed and have an amazing night. I will catch you guys in the next parts.